Yes, peoples, welcome back to Outrageous TV. Genie here, and today I have a special on US soccer versus English football, or aka the rest of the world. Now, I will start off by saying that this isn't a personal dig. This is no disrespect to the USA, the MLS, or any American soccer players. It really isn't. I myself have been in America for 20 years. I have played football my entire life. I have grown up in the football system back home. I've done grassroots. There's no football field or league I haven't played in. Trust me, try and know. But being here for 20 years, I do see a major difference. And I do get a lot of questions of why American soccer is so far behind. And this is what I want to talk about. And this is what I'm going to address today. And again, this is just the recap. It's not I'm not going to delve too far into it, but I'm going to start with the history of football or soccer in America. Now, in my personal opinion, only been here for 20 years, I think that soccer only got big here after they hosted the World Cup back in the 90s. That's only when Americans really started to really take a genuine interest. That the love was there, but it really wasn't like that. I like to think a big part of it also is in America, historically, soccer has been seen as a girls' sport. You see a lot of the little girls from 3 to 5 to 6. Traditionally, that was the sport they were put into from really young. And I still see it somewhat today. It's gotten better. A lot of the little boys are starting to play now. But it was almost deemed as I just want my kid to run and burn some steam, just to burn some energy because he's tearing up my house. But that was always the stigma. I just want my kid to go out there and exercise and run. It wasn't really seen as like, oh, this is a sport I can take serious. I want to talk a little bit about the infrastructure here in compared to Europe and England. Now, where I grew up, there was a football field everywhere, and if we didn't have one, we made one. From concrete to the grass to AstroTurf to makeshift basketball to parking lots. I have played some of my best games in a pub parking lot or in a council state parking lot. Anywhere there was to kick a ball, we kicked one, from a tennis ball to a ping pong ball. But soccer/football, pretty much non-existent. And I have to be honest, in all my time here, it's very, very, very rare that you'll see a bunch of kids playing in the street. When I first moved here, there was no kids playing in the park. None, like literally none. It was either organized by people, but it wasn't just a random bunch of kids after school going to kick a ball around. America has a lot of different options. When I say options, I am talking about basketball, baseball, and American football, hockey. They prioritize those sports way more, and they are more pushed, which is obvious. They've been around this. That is their sports, and I respect that. So a lot of the kids growing up, it was like, oh, I'm really good at soccer, but football's gonna get me more attention and there's more of a crowd. And this also goes into the paying system too. When you look at the professional leagues, I remember when I first moved here, I had a good friend who played for the MLS, and he had to have a second job. He was literally clocking in 40 hours plus playing for the MLS. Imagine that. So when a little kid is faced with the option of going pro in football, or should I say American soccer, really wasn't deemed like it was is gonna pay well. Is it gonna be sufficient to look after my family? Is it gonna be sufficient to live in the state that I'm gonna be moving to? I think the average wage for a soccer player for a long time was like 100 grand. That was like big money. That was considered your top flight elite. Obviously now it's changed due to certain stars moving here, from Bex to Ibra, Rooney, and obviously Messi now. Like, they've pumped more money into it. The accessibility of the sport here is something that needs to be talked about. Now, it's not a secret, especially here in California, that here is a pay-to-play system. I think a lot of the top academies is like 3.5 to 5 grand per season to play. Now, that is a lot of money, and a lot of the kids that play football literally just cannot afford it. And I know some middle class to wealthy parents that are like, why am I going to spend all that money for a sport that's not going to pay off eventually? Yes, my kid may love it. Yes, it may get them into a school, but what does the future hold for them realistically? So with the pay-to-play system, what you find is there's a lot of privileged kids that get to play soccer. Now we have to be honest with ourselves and say that a lot of the privileged kids don't make it. A lot of the inner city kids that have that fire, that desire, that real commitment to changing their lives, and they're doing it for their family and their history, they will not get a shot at the big time. They just won't. And unfortunately, a lot of the coaches have seen this business model of making a lot of money, and these coaches aren't top tier coaches. They're just good businessmen. That's a big difference. A lot of these coaches are lying where they're played. Yes, they may have the credentials on paper, but they're lying about where they've played. I know a lot of them, trust me. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, you are just good at gathering people together and having a good business model, and you are lucky in the sense of your timing and placement. There's a lot of good coaches here, and a lot of things have changed. But when I first moved here, I thought about going into coaching, but the parents, man, I just cannot. I'm too UK for all that. But I'm not gonna go there right now. Let's leave it out. If you really think about it, America is literally huge, and I do mean huge. I think Texas alone can hold 3 Englands. Imagine that. Like, really think about that. There's 333 million people in America, and there's only 29 pro teams, including Canada, obviously. And I think they include Mexico as well. So think about that. 333 million and only 29 pro teams. That's incredible to me. That's, if you really break it down, that's like, I don't know, let's just say 1 team per state. That's crazy. England has the population of 6 million people, and they have, plus 90 pro teams. England will make a team out of just a street. If the street's long enough and big enough, and there's enough people living there, it's a pro team. So imagine all these kids that go to college, that grew up to want to play football at a high level. What are the chances of you going pro? Like, really, really break down the numbers. And if you break down the numbers, then you got to break down the financial cost. You also have to remember that here, a lot of the guys that go pro, they have to go through college. So not only are you paying for the fees growing up your entire life, like, remember, you're paying these fees from like 6 up until 18. You're paying 3 to 5 grand a year, plus tournaments, plus games, plus your gear and your boots and all that. Some of these boots, man, they cost more than some people's rent in Europe. All of that. Then you put in college, and college here isn't cheap. Like it is literally tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars for you to possibly go pro out of 2019. And then you've got like 30 to 50,000 kids that are all amped to play and physically able to play pro, and you can't even get in. Then you've got to deal with the stigma of Europe and other countries looking down upon America. And it's really unfortunate, and it's sad, but it is true. A lot of the world football look at American soccer as less than. Please don't shoot the messenger. I'm just relaying the stories, and I'm relaying what I see, and as an experienced player that has traveled and lived in different countries, this is just the stigma that is attached, and it just is what it is. I think I have sent 5, maybe 6 players back with my dad, and my dad was an agent for Stella Group back in England. He had the likes of Bale and Jermaine Defoe, and the 5 to 6 players that I thought were of a standard, I sent them back with my dad and tried to get them clubs. Every single one of them got sent back, and they were really, really good. There's a lot of different elements that go into that, and this is, I'm going kind of far left with this. But a lot of the players I find that grew up in this system find it hard to translate over there. It's a different way of playing. It's a lot more physical. The weather conditions, the coaching is completely different. It's brutal, man. It's not easy. And obviously Europe, you're dealing with the best of the best. We're not here to shake hands and kumbaya like this. We're playing for life. Some of these kids are playing for their families. Some of these kids are playing for more than just a paycheck. They're playing for their countries. They're playing for their cities, for their families, just for putting food on the table. And then you've got this quote unquote privileged kid that comes over who's kind of had it kind of easy and pampered to some degree, and the fire that burns and the intensity are on two different playing fields, so it's really hard to compete. I can see America catching up pretty soon. It's there. Will it be the same? It just won't be, because again, the infrastructure is just not the same. I think the injection of more inner city teams, more funding for the inner cities, for the Mexicans and the black kids that really want to play football, they genuinely want to play football. I can see it, I'm out here. And I think once you start from the grassroots level and build your way up, that's the only way things are gonna change here. Again, it comes in the form of love and appreciation. I love being here. I love the American culture. I'm just talking about what I see and what I know. If you have any questions for me, please email me or DM me. I am glad to help. Like, follow, and subscribe. I appreciate it. Leave a comment. I would love to hear it. I've got time today. Stay focused, stay blessed. Le comment.